Hey, welcome to the UGA Sports Live edition. Welcome to UGA Sports Live, this week's edition from Classic City Eats. I was sitting there looking at all this food in front of me. It's made me stumble my words right to start off the show. Huge plate of fried livers over here. These chicken livers are just going to kill you folks. But yes, my name is Radi Nabulsi. I'm here at Classic City Eats, darting my eyes sideways, constantly looking at all the food on the table. I'm joined by our number one attraction, if you will, our number one person and coach, Jim Donnan, the former head coach of the University of Georgia Bulldogs, the Hall of Famer himself. The reason you're all tuned in, you guys are looking at him on the screen, waiting for his insights, just like I'm looking at the food here at Classic City Eats. And, of course, we have Dayne Young, who's been pressed into duty, even though he's been under the weather and has a family under the weather. And if Dayne has to cut out, then y'all let him go take care of his family. But he's playing injured, so we appreciate Dayne stepping up and coming to join us.
I wasn't going to miss Coach 2 weeks in a row. I mean, Russ was great last week, but we got to get Coach a stake on this roster, man. There's some stuff happening.
Exactly.
I'm surprised y'all let me back on after Russ, man. I mean,
yeah, well, he's a lot better than you, but I mean, we're contractually obligated to stick with you. We can't fire you. You're like a 26 year state employee. We just can't get rid of you. We tried. We've written you up a bunch of times, but it just doesn't work.
Where is that contract? I've never seen it.
It's in the mail, right?
Yeah. I do want to, speaking of contracts, I signed one with a different sort of contract. I signed one with Athens Ford the other day. I went out there. We took my son out there. I surprised him. I told my son I had to go out there and drop off some paperwork. We take him to Athens Ford. I walk in the door, and my wife's there, and he doesn't even think anything of it. He's like, "Oh, Mom's here." And I'm like, "Hey, Habibi, I need to drop off this paperwork." Well, that was a lie. We're here to get your car. And his face, he's like, "What? No, wait, what?" And it took him a minute to process it, but we took him out to Athens Ford. My wife and I had been out there previously, and we looked around through all we're getting him a new car, a used car. But we want to get one with a lifetime powertrain warranty, which is what they all come with out there if they're under 80,000 miles. And we were looking for a low mileage car, safe, because he's 18. He graduates this coming Saturday, and wanted something super safe, low mileage, newer, late model. We had like 5 different models out there to choose from. We wound up going with the Toyota Camry, 2018 Toyota Camry. Got it for a song, even though all the used cars everywhere in this nation are really expensive compared to what they used to be. They're up about 35%. But the folks at Athens Ford took great care of us because they're basically just trying to keep people in vehicles. So they're buying them and they're selling them basically right above what they're buying them for. They're not making a ton of money on the used cars, and they did a great job getting my son squared away. So shout out to Timmy Gay and Brian Clower and all the folks at Athens Ford for taking great care of us. It was a wonderful experience. His first car experience. Very pleased with how well they took care of us. And again, if you need a new or used vehicle, they have over 200 on the lot. That's not true at most places you go. So we get a shout out to our friends at Athens Ford and that new contract we signed for the car loan. So appreciate them. Coach, let's talk Georgia news. The news kind of broke last night late that Marcus Washington, the class of 2023 Georgia commit, has reclassified as a 2022 guy. And now this secondary player will be here with the Georgia players. I'm assuming you said March 30 or May 31st when the freshmen arrive. He's going to come in a year early. How does that work?
Well, it all stems to me from the lack of numbers in our secondary, the fact that we've had guys like Kimber leave, some guys get hurt, whatever it might be. Depth is a real issue. We do have Humphrey and Singletary coming in this new class that's, that didn't get to come here in the spring. But the people that watch our show know a lot more about football than the average fan, and they understand that you have to have corners to live in today's college game. You have to have 2 starters, but the star position has evolved to a situation where it's like a 5th corner. It's not like a nickel safety used to be, where you just had a guy that run support and run some zone blitzes. No, you got to have a guy that can play in the slot and cover. And that's evidenced by the fact that Breeny tried to for all year, but then when it really got push came to shove, we had to move Poole in there to cover people so we could play man coverage. Breeny just couldn't hold up in that. That's not his fault, but you've got to have guys that can play that position. We lost Stevenson to Miami on the transfer. I mean, he was coming along good there. So I think what we'll do here is just have another guy to look at, either as a corner or as a star, a guy that can come in and play special teams. He's got blazing speed along with these other two that are coming in, Singletary and Humphrey. So, people worry about roster management numbers and everything. I think they probably need to go out to Your Pie or Academia, have a beer, and not worry about that. Kirby's going to take care of the roster management. I mean, he's not going to do anything that's going to really piss off the people here in our dog nation. He knows what he's doing roster management wise. I mean, look over the years. The first year he's here, he got the kid from Smith from Alabama, and we needed a corner. He knows a whole lot more about that than any of us, and his staff does too. But if you just look at the evolution real quickly of that position, you look at Jackson playing star, Mika Fitzpatrick going in and playing, who's a pro corner now. He was playing star at Alabama. Our defense is very similar to theirs. If you can't play man coverage and rush the passer, which you've got to do with 5 and 6 people, once you go 5 and 6 man rush, you've got to play man on the perimeter. And if you can't win in college football. I'm just going to give you a declarative sentence here. You've got to play some man coverage. Now, you can't live and die with it, for sure, because the good teams are going to hurt you. But the really good drop-back teams are good drop-back teams against the mediocre teams because they can protect. But they go against the people like Georgia that can rush the passer. Alabama, it showed you the difference between a pass rush in the championship game and the national championship game. I mean, it's just a different ball game when you can play man coverage and light that quarterback up. So I think Kirby, the whole issue is here, we know it's a given about this kid's heritage, about his ability to run. And it was just based on what I see reading in the cards here, Kirby talked to his dad. He talked to the family. Said, look, you probably got a better chance of playing this year than maybe you do next year. When all these other guys come in here this summer, they're going to have the edge on you. I mean, all these guys like Everett, Humphrey, Singletary, all these guys are going to have that year of training, and you're going to come in here, but you're going to be behind the 8 ball a little bit. Now, he wouldn't say that exactly like that, but you know what I mean. To me, he's got a better chance this year than he will next year.
That's a great point. I think when you look at how the different variations they were putting out there, and you mentioned Daylen Everett, we heard a lot about him in spring practice, but Humphreys and Singletary are 2 of the top-rated cornerbacks in the nation. This secondary class for 2022 is insane. And if you're going to come in 2023 and those guys are established, it's a good point. I'd come in and go head-to-head with them, and the kid's obviously bright enough to do it, so why not? And
you just take for granted people like Malachi Starks. I mean, 5-star just because he's from Jefferson and he practiced all spring. Hey, this guy's going to be a player. Go back to the evolution of Christopher Smith. Christopher started out as a corner, and he did some good things and developed. But I would just say, what's the day? May 18th. May 18th, 2021. If I would have told you, boy, I'm really glad we got William Poole, you would have thought I was an idiot. Based on the future.
That's why we keep trying to fire you. Yep.
Look at William. Well, a lot of people think I am anyhow, but William Poole, just to me, is a great example of the transfer portal, of not leaving here, hanging in here, getting his shot and taking advantage of it and getting coached. Part of coaching is coaching around your weaknesses as much as it is your strength. And he's got certain things he doesn't do as well as Keely Ringo. But he's got savvy, he's got the heart to play, and he's got quickness. I mean, he can play that inside position. And now all of a sudden we got him. We got Taiki Smith, who everybody thought last year was going to be the answer, but he got his foot hurt early, and then he had his knee. But Taiki Smith, and then you got these other guys coming in, and then you got Lassiter and all these others. So I think secondary is going to be a real battle. I mean, guys are going to go out there every day and have to earn their spurs, and they're going to get coached up. And this defense this year, to me, is going to have kind of a burr in their saddle because everybody's going to say, hey, you can't do this. You're going to replace all that. But they're going to really have a challenge. But at the same time, they're going to get better all the time. And as we've mentioned on this show so many times, they're going to have the benefit of playing with the lead most of the time. And, boy, that is a tremendous advantage when the team doesn't have the ability to call plays according to, hey, we just need to score a couple times and we'll be all right. They're going to have to score a lot more points on Georgia, than they. We averaged 38 a game last year and only played about 2.5 quarters most of the game. So I think we're going to be good at that. So I look at everything at this point in the spring like every head coach would do. Look at what your total team's going to, how you're going to win and lose games. What's going to help you win, what's going to help you avoid losing, and your 60 to 65 man roster that are playing the games when you count special teams. I like our chances. I really like our chances.
I want to touch on the family aspect of this thing too with Marcus Washington, just how cool it is, because there are so many former players that go through Georgia. They're very fond of the G and their time there. They hope that their kids can have that same kind of experience. And, we don't all get the luck of the draw with that. Sometimes your children just aren't quite at the par athletically or even academically. And for Marcus Washington, a guy that played from 05 to 09 at Georgia, I had to go back and look up his stats just now. 64 total tackles in his career, most of it in 2007, which was a really good Georgia defense. Yeah. For him to see his son, because Marcus Washington went through Georgia, didn't really play much pro ball, and became a high school coach in a small town in Georgia. Like, that's a pretty common story for players. And then for his son to kind of live up to the billing and maybe even surpass it at this stage, that's super cool. In fact, I found a story from Georgia Dogs that they published, I guess, back when he was there. I'm going to put this on the screen here. And it was talking about how he had 2 kids during his senior year in college. And so this is a low-res photo from back in the day. That's little Marcus on his shoulders down there.
I love it.
At Buttsmere.
Yeah, so, why don't you superimpose Kirby in there now? He's going to be on Kirby's shoulder now. That's great. That's a great pick. That's really awesome.
That is fantastic. I love it.
It's just a really cool, kind of well-rounded family story of, look at the Washingtons and what they've accomplished at Georgia.
Yeah, let's call up Haynes. And then tell him, hey, look, let's get your son over here too. I mean, for sure, we're recruiting Justice really hard, and hopefully we'll be able to get him. And Thornton's son, I don't know what's going to happen with him. Bruce Thornton played corner for me, and it's just great to see those guys come in and have kids that are that kind of capability that they can play at this level.
Because I'm assuming, Coach, that over the years you've had former players call you and say, Coach, is there anything you can do for my kid? And at some point it's like, well, no, if they're not up to a certain standard.
Yeah, I mean, you get those calls, and it's tough to say, look, I'll be glad to help you, but we just can't. You just, like, I had a kid that played for me that was a good receiver, and his son is a very good receiver in South Florida. I mean, really, but he's a small slot type guy, and we just couldn't take him here. We looked at him, but he's going to go to Marshall, and he's going to light it up there. So I'm happy for him. But as a father, and you got to be realistic and looking at what your son can do. Though, I mean, to get to Georgia now as a player or as a student, it's hard to do. I mean, it's hard to get in here, and it's hard to make for Georgia to offer you a scholarship.
Yeah, there goes. Hey, people could ask me, hey, Rod, is your son going to UGA? I'm like, my son is really smart, but he's not going up against the same admittance requirements that I went up against. Mine were a lot easier. It's a hell of a lot easier to get in 1990 than it is 2022.
Well, I guarantee you that people don't have any idea how good a kid you got, and
he's going to UNG. He's going to join the Corps Cadets up there.
He's going to light it up there, and he's an entrepreneur already. He's already got more money than Radi.
He does. I should have made him buy that damn car himself. All right, so but this brings up a question. I know we have questions from the dog vent that we'll get to first, but this one is right along the lines of what you were talking about, Dayne. This is from UGA. He said, did Veron Haynes play against either of the Mannings, and could their kids be on the same team? What are our chances with both Arch Manning and Justice Haynes?
I don't think Veron was here when we played. Peyton's last year was 97.
Right.
I think Veron came in here as a transfer from Western Kentucky. I don't think he played against them, but hey, I feel like we got a really good shot at Justice based on what I read. I really feel like, I don't know, I don't read many of these websites, but I just feel like with Jed May and Blaine Gilmer out there, we got two hawks on the perimeter there, and they do a really good job of talking to the kids, which I think you can talk to the coach, the counselor, and all that, but these kids pretty much tell you what they think as far as, where they stand, although they're going to BS you a little bit. I'm going to look at this, look at that, but I think that's awesome. I don't think many people have much access to Arch Manning as far as one-on-one, but I think we got a good shot. But realistically, look at what Alabama's put out quarterback-wise. Look at the receivers they got. I mean, even though they supposedly are going on a quarterback already that's supposed to be really good, I think that would probably hurt their chances with him. And then, of course, Texas is selling the fact that Sarkisian's their, quarterback guru and all that. But I think the Mannings are going to look at the supporting cast too, who's going to be playing with you. And I know Archie Manning can tell you how hard it was playing with the Saints when it had no protection and defense wasn't very good. And same thing at Ole Miss, although they had certain qualities there at Ole Miss, they were able to win some games and all, but they didn't have really great teams around Eli. So hopefully we can get him, but whoever we get at quarterback will be good. But I don't get too caught up and worried about a guy like some people do at this point. I mean, we're not going to slit our wrist if we don't get him, but there'll be certainly some good quarterbacks here in the future, just like they have been the last few years. And I'm glad we got the quarterbacks we got here now.
Amen. I did some research while Coach was talking, and I have an answer to the question. November 18th, 2000, Ole Miss at Georgia. The head coach, Jim Donnan. Backup quarterback for Ole Miss, and he was 5 of 12 for 88 yards, Eli Manning. And for Georgia that day, Veron Haynes had 1 carry for 1 yard and a touchdown.
Yeah, but I thought we were just talking about Peyton, but Eli, hey, I could have answered that if I'd listened better. We played against Eli. He didn't start against us. That was kind of the coming of when he started playing. But I never will forget in that game. We were just kind of rocking and rolling, and we had a situation at quarterback where Corey Phillips had to come in, and Quincy Carter had a slight break in his thumb.
That's right.
And Corey Phillips just played lights out.
Killed it.
If we'd had any kind of defense against Tech or Auburn there in that overtime game. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. But I remember we were struggling a little bit. Doug Marone was our offensive line coach. And, of course, I was calling the plays. He said, Coach, why don't we line up Alandis Gary some at tailback and then put Smith in at fullback. Who was that really good? Ended up being a great running back for us. But anyhow, he said, let's run 33 spin with him as a fullback. I said, he's never even lined up at fullback. And so we got him over the sideline and showed him how to do it. He said, they're overreacting to our tailback. If we run 33 spin, he'll cut back against the grain. And we put him in there and he went about 55. He ran 33 spin and never had run it one time in a game with him at fullback. So it worked really good.
God, that's why I love this show, stuff like that.
I tell you, you spread the ball around to ball carriers in this Ole Miss game.
Well, what was the stats? Or tell us who the running backs were there.
Musa Smith, 21.
Musa Smith.
21 carries, 144 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah. How long was that one touchdown? That was like 33 spin. But you talk about a recruiting story. That's the damnedest recruiting story that's ever been. Musa Smith, we didn't do diddly on him. I mean, we did diddly on him. No, it was unbelievable. I'm going to give you about a 2-minute scenario on that. Greg Williams is from Western Pennsylvania, and he said there's a backup there that we can get, Coach. He said, I think Penn State's going to overlook him. They're going to take that Johnson guy is the D-line coach. They're going to take his son. And so I called up Joe Paterno, who, I know Joe. And I said, Coach, are y'all going to recruit that Musa Smith? I don't know. We're probably going to take him as a defensive back, but, we can't take him. I said, so you're not going to recruit him as a running back? I don't know. So I said, Greg, we can get him down here in the summer. Let's see what we can do. So he got the coach to bring him and one other guy with him down here, and he was going to go to South Carolina, Florida, and here. And I was supposed to go on a trip somewhere. And he said, Coach, if you could just be here one day for him, that would be great. So he goes to South Carolina. Nobody's there. He talks to some GAs. He goes to Florida. Nobody's there. They got like a secretary and somebody else, and they show him around. And he comes here, and I'm the head coach. And it's not just because I'm the head coach, but I did everything but shine his shoes that day. I mean, I was with him for like 8 hours. I mean, I drove him around. I took him in the stadium, walked out to the 50-yard line. I did everything I could. And he was comparing that from then on. And then about the middle of September, he committed to us without even making an official visit or anything. It's just luck of the draw that I was here and the other coaches weren't. But
I love it.
Musa turned into he was a great kid. Now he's got a tremendous family. His daughters are great athletes. Lacey, his wife's awesome. It's just unbelievable the way Musa played for here, and he played good for Rick too. But what a player! But Joe always kidded me after he said, "We should have taken, we should have taken," and they could have had him. He's right there, But that was luck for us.
Brett Milliken also had 10 carries, and Jasper Sanks had 10 carries. But I think I buried the lead here a little bit because the following year Georgia also played Ole Miss. This is Mark Rick's.
That's when he went crazy down there when they gave him the ball. Like, how many yards did Haynes get? Over like 200 or something.
Haynes had 26 carries for 192 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had a catch.
Yeah, I would think Coach Cutcliffe was saying, "Who in the hell is this guy? Where did he come from?"
Eli Manning that day was 35 of 47 for 233, a touchdown, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. David Green didn't have to throw it that much because Verron Haynes was running all the time.
Man, just think of how much fun it would be to see Arch Manning turn around, handing it off to Justice Haynes, and knowing the pedigree of those two guys and their families, and just sticking there.
A whole lot rather than be throwing him some instead of turning around and handing it to him.
That's true. But either way, just to do them line up on the same side, to see those names on the back of the jerseys side by side, that would just be a fun situation to see in Georgia. And then,
one of these shows are impulsive, but Ole Miss just reminds me of two things. The first time we go down there and we land in Tupelo, and we're supposed to stay in this hotel, and there were some screwed up deals, and none of our rooms were open. They had people in the rooms, and so we had to take like 3 and 4 guys in a room.
Oh my God!
Before the game, and I was staying in the Elvis Presley suite, which was pretty funny, And
that's awesome.
And one of our kids had on some designer jeans. I mean, these jeans cost like a lot of money back in '98 when we played them, or in '99. And one of our ops guys was telling him he couldn't go to the meeting. And I said, "Look, God, those pants cost more than anything we got." So we let him go, and things like that. But the other thing was at the game at halftime. I had these 2 really good policemen that were with me, highway patrolmen, and this idiot from Ole Miss is out there running up to me. "We're gonna kick your ass. We're gonna kick your ass," and just kept on going all that, And we're walking off the field, and he wouldn't leave. And finally, my guy said, "What do you want me to do?" I said, "Shoot the bastard." When that guy saw that, he just turned and ran. He thought I was going to have him shot out there, but it was pretty funny. That's the self-disclosure on Ole Miss there.
I love this. I'm trying to go to the Egg Bowl this year, and I don't think any story I can get from it can top what you just did.
I mean, I had to get that guy away from me, man. He wasn't ready for that.
Between that and then the time you told us you were recruiting in Miami and you almost got stuck up, you've had some situations.
Yeah, I got plenty of that stuff, but
oh crap!
we should have a 3-minute segment every week on just on things that have happened like that. It's unbelievable.
Best recruiting stories. I'm gonna take a quick second here to mention our friends over at Academic Brewing Company, because Coach got me laughing. I was thinking about the comedy show they had recently. But if you're watching our show and you hear me talk about Academia each week, just do me one favor. Go to their Facebook page and just, hit the little favorites, get like the page and then hit the notification thing so that they'll let you know when stuff's coming up. Because Monday they have game night, that was last night. Today they have Trivia Tuesday with a chance to win $70 or it's going to be $90 in Academia gift cards. Then they have Wine Wednesdays where you get 4 3-ounce pours of any wine from their brand new wine list. The pairs really nice with their charcuterie boards. Then on Thursday they have a documentary screening. Friday they have live music with Ken and Tyler. Sunday they have live music as well with Wim Tapley. So there's music, games, Wine Wednesday, trivia, stuff like that. There's always something going on with our friends at Academic Brewing Company. And we know that a lot of people went out there to celebrate graduating from UGA this past week. Congrats to all the grads out there. Thousands of graduates are going out into the real world, and a lot of them celebrated out at the Academic Brewing Company. A lot of them for the last time, or at least it'll be a while until they come back. So shout out to all the grads, and shout out to Academic Brewing Company for being such a good place to go out and actually have a big celebration. They have the room out there where you can do all the fun stuff, and they have the beer garden, which would be perfect on a day like today. So
I want to point out one thing. A couple of my friends over at UGA that work over there in the athletic department in support roles, they go to that trivia thing out there at Academia. They say it's awesome. They love it. And so if it's good enough, and these guys are pretty selective in what they do with their night. So if they're saying it's good, it's got to be.
It is. I mean, we know that our buddy Dave, our stats guy, he's a trivia master, and he's giving it the thumbs up. So that means a lot. So speaking of trivia, I have a trivia question for you, Coach, or at least it's a question from talking about, we were mentioning Marcus Washington. This is from our buddy Dallas Dog again. He wants to know what is the latest on C.J. Washington, Darnell Washington, and Sean Washington. I had to think about that for a second. I'm like, wow,
well, I can tell you about George Washington. He never told a lie, but
well, C.J. Washington hurt his neck, so
yeah. I'm just going to say, C.J.'s situation is fluid from the standpoint. It just had a very severe injury. A lot of it was they were just being precautionary, and I think at this point that's where he stands. I don't know that anything. I don't know that anything has been ascertained of how much damage is. I mean, what the situation is going to be for this year, but I would say it's up in the air for sure. Darnell Washington seems to be. I mean, he didn't get in the portal, so he's definitely. And people just assumed that he might because of the situation with Gilbert and Bowers and all that, but. I think, he's looking forward to coming back. He really worked hard until he hurt his foot again. He'll be back. He had the same injury. He'll be back working this summer. Our kids mostly are home now. They'll be back around the end of May and start out with, summer workouts. And those are a lot of running, a lot of weight training, learning the system. They can meet with the coaches so much each week. They do some private 7-on-7 with the teams go against each other, but it's a pretty heavy month. And then toward the end of the month, coaches go on vacation and they continue to do that. But Sean Washington, I wasn't aware of anything. Has he had an injury or what?
I don't remember. I thought I saw him running on the sideline when they had G-Day, but
he could be.
He could have been out there just because he was an early enrollee, just didn't play as much. I mean, but he is a big boy. I remember when he was an LSU commit, based on Sean, he's joins a defensive line class. That's a lot of guys fighting for not a lot of spots, not a lot of open spots, I should say. So I think Jones just will be in a development year, building that body into SEC caliber. So,
right.
But I hope that answers your question. I know we had some questions from the dog vent. If you want to hit those up for us.
It is funny that we have all the Washingtons on the team now. Wasn't it like 2 years ago that we had like 14 iterations of Daniel on there?
We got a lot of we got more Smiths than we got Washingtons, don't we?
I mean, you could probably field a team with the Daniel Smiths and Washingtons.
Yeah. Well,
before we get to that, Coach, do you want to do another speed round that we've been doing every week?
Yeah. Hey, well, don't make it too fast, but I'm still trying to get over the heat exhaustion I've got from that plane I came back on yesterday. Sat out on the damn tarmac for an hour and 15 minutes without any air conditioning, so I wasn't ready for that.
You need some of that Classic City Eats to cool you down over there.
Yeah, chicken livers over here, the salad, the fries, the
I like
green
all
beans.
That. I like all that with the chicken livers. You into those chicken livers, Roddy?
I am. My wife loves them, so
good.
This is one of the few places you can get them. So what I don't eat, she will take out. So
good for you. Need to take care of her. She does a lot better with you than you do with her.
This is very true. Very, very true.
All right, Coach, let's do a speed round here. I'll give you 15 seconds on each player. You actually took my first one, which was going to be Darnell Washington. So I'm going to replace him with Brock Bowers.
Yeah, I saw Brock last week over there when I was before I left, and all smiles. He feels good about his shoulder. He's done a tremendous lot of leg work. He's going to be ready to go. And I told the fans, and I feel like this, when you got a great player like that, sometimes it's really pennies from heaven that he doesn't go through spring because of all the reps that the younger guys get. You look at what Delp got, and you look at the fact that he went through and didn't get any other kind of injury. So he'll be ready to go.
Warren Erickson.
Erickson has really surprised me, his development. A little immature coming out of high school, like a lot of kids, but you just expect a big kid to be, a really a strong personality, but he's developed and he's really got some tools to go with his size. He's got quickness and I really think he'll be able to help us. Not a whole lot this year, but down the road, I mean, he's going to be a big body we can use.
Jonathan Jefferson, defensive lineman.
Jonathan's just going to have to keep working, get bigger. I think he's certainly got potential. He can really run. Got long arms, which always help you in that position, like we saw with some of these guys we had last year. So I think he's got a lot of potential, but probably not this year.
Kamari Lassiter.
I'm high on Kamari. I hate that he got hurt a little bit in spring, but really impressed me during playing on the scout team. This guy really pisses Nick off at a guy from Tuscaloosa's playing in Georgia. That's pretty awesome, I think. I really like that. So anything to piss the Nick hater off. But and I'm glad that Nick is worried about the parity in college football. I mean,
I knew that was coming. It's
just such a real issue for Alabama that was worried about that some of these teams don't have the parity they do. And so he wants that to be like that. Come on, Nick. So anyhow, but I really like Kamari. He's got good cover skills. He's very intelligent, and he's going to, like we said, corners hard to come by. You can't have enough corners, so he'll be in the rotation here unless Singletary and Humphrey just come in here and just rock and roll real quick, kind of like Ringo was going to do before he got hurt.
We started with an offensive team leader. Let's finish with a defensive team leader, Nolan Smith.
Well, Nolan, I think, is really going to flourish being the guy. He's had so many guys he's had to play around, and certainly it's going to be interesting to see how he does being the man out there. And he's got good leadership. He's a very intelligent guy, high GPA. I think he's going to really enhance his draft status and have a big year.
To have leadership, you got to have followership. That's
right.
What I've been told.
That's a good quote. And, I was trying to do some research on Will Anderson, the top player in the country, Alabama defensive end. And he was going to go high in recruiting, and we were after so many guys. But at the time there, we didn't end up recruiting him. And so I had some info on him. If you just, one of y'all just help me a minute and just talk.
When you start looking at guys in the SEC that are getting like Heisman buzz right now, Will Anderson's right there at the top of the list with Bryce Young. And then you're not seeing really any of that in Georgia.
Here it is. At the time he was being recruited, and you got to remember, we only get one guy on the field at a time at that position, sometimes two. We had Azeez Ojulari, Adam Anderson, Jermaine Johnson, Nolan Smith, Robert Beal, and Brenton Cox. And we had MJ Sherman committed. So
yeah, but Sherman was committed too. And yeah.
So how do you look at it at that point? You had to look at the numbers, but it ended up not being a great. It doesn't look good because we didn't get him. But I could see how we wouldn't go after him hard because of those guys that were here. And then you got. So I want to make that statement here because I like to do some research when I'm on the road.
No, that's a great point. I did not realize Georgia was that loaded. And then you look back at how many of those guys could have been on this team this last year. Right. And he still won the title.
And also Ojulari's brother, everybody's talking about him coming out as a big guy this year for LSU. So, and he wanted to come here.
So I remember talking to BJ in Rome, Georgia. He was up there for the track meet, and Georgia was in on it very close. And he said Azeez raves about Georgia. He loves it. But I got the feeling then that, he liked Georgia, but he's also kind of wanted to do his own thing. So it's just, you can't always getting the brother, getting the son is not automatic, I should say.
It's a remarkable room there. So let's keep going there.
Let's get to some of the questions over at the Dog Vent. This is from Dog KC. What's more likely, that Georgia loses to one of South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, or Kentucky, or that Georgia goes undefeated against them?
Anything can happen in the game. More times than not, you lose games. The other team doesn't beat you, like that South Carolina game a few years ago. I mean, it could happen. Playing at South Carolina, you never know. We got to play at Kentucky, but it's just. And I was reflecting on it with one of my Oklahoma cronies out there when we had it rocking out there, kind of like they do here now. You just so worried that you're going to lose one game, you can't even enjoy the victory. So, that's what we're talking about now. We're going to lose a game. It's still got 3 months to enjoy the national championship. But nothing against his question, but we would have to play not real good for any of those teams to beat us, I think.
I think you could easily argue that Georgia is bordering on double-digit favorite in Vegas for every game on the schedule.
Right.
Up until, postseason. I'm talking SEC championship. Obviously, It's a different ballgame then. But for the people on the regular season schedule, it may not be quite 10 points, but it's going to be hovering that way for most of them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
From Billy Zane, does Georgia have more weapons this year, particularly in the passing game, than any other year in recent memory? And do you as a coach worry about having to distribute the ball to keep more guys invested and focused?
Absolutely, we got the weapons. Absolutely, with a capital A and a little Y at the end. We got them. We're going to be really good there. A lot of explosive plays. Our running game is going to be good, enhanced. That's where you make your money, you play action pass. We got a wizard back there that can avoid the rush and get on the perimeter and put pressure on the defense where they have a hard time rushing him. So we'll make a lot of explosive plays. If you start worrying about distributing the ball, then you probably need to go sell used cars or do something else. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a used car salesman, but you can't get into that. I mean, you can talk a little bit about it, like particularly when you're winning, and you look over there, one of your GAs, say, well, how many times did so-and-so caught it? And you throw him 3 straight passes or something. But you're just trying to win the game. You don't get too caught up in that. But
shout out to Timmy Gay as the used car salesman over at Athens Ford. Thanks, Timmy.
Yeah, I'd say that's good. But I was a bad statement.
No, just teasing. It's a good guy.
But the point is, he probably makes good sense, that guy from KC, whatever his name was. Yeah. He makes good sense because the transfer portal better be worried a little bit about getting the ball to some of these guys. So I didn't have the transfer portal to worry about, but I did have a sheet, a little place on every game plan that I had on how you gonna get the ball to Champ and how you get the ball to to Ainsworth, whoever your big daddy was, just in case things weren't going good, just so you don't rely on your memory. These are ways we can do it without the reads and everything. And that's one thing that all good coaches, everybody said, well, it's not in the progression. That's why he's not getting the ball. I'm going to tell you some progressions. You send in the play, throw the ball to Champ. I don't give a shit who's on him, throw it to him. Excuse my language, but that's what you do. No progression, throw it to Champ.
Yeah, to me, I'm thinking you have 3 top tight ends that you know can produce, and Darnell Washington, Brock Bowers, and Arik Gilbert. Then you start going down A.D. Mitchell, Arian Smith, Ladd McConkey, Marcus Rosemead, Jack Saint, Kieris Jackson, Dominic Blaylock. And I think that Billy Zane nailed it. It's like, do you have more weapons this year in the passing game? I'm like, throw it to Kendall Milton, throw it to Kenny McIntosh. And that's Jackson. It's just absolutely loaded. I'm thinking you got this great running back core, but they can also catch passes out of the backfield. So I think Billy Zane hit it. This is depth like he says in recent memory. Yes, in recent memory, this is a loaded. And we still get the knock on Georgia that they're not great. They don't have great receivers. I'm like, what the hell?
When we had the leading producer, McConkey's the leading, based on what Brent Rollins said, the leading producer for deep plays coming back in the country. But like 17, we had all those good receivers and Fromm throwing to them. I mean, we're an explosive team. But
yep.
I just think more than likely, particularly with our schedule, we probably might not have the stats that some of these other teams have because you play about 2.5 quarters with your first team.
Well, I think that's, you mentioned stats. I think that's what it is. People don't think of Georgia as being a huge passing, top wide receiver team because you don't have 1,000-yard receiver, you don't have 900-yard receivers, but you have 8 guys who get 500 yards. So it's, I think it's fine.
I mean, you just had George Pickens go pretty high in the NFL draft, and that's really how that narrative gets changed.
Well, you had
what do these guys do in the pros?
You had 2 guys go in the second round, and they're not. I mean, Cook's going to be explosive for Buffalo. I mean, can you imagine him up there with that Allen kid throwing the ball and throwing to him out of the backfield?
Mouthwater player of the week every week going forward.
He'll be playing in a new stadium up there too, right? They just shelled out a ton of money for a new stadium in Buffalo.
Yeah. Well, they probably have that ready about the time Niagara Falls falls down.
And Coach, you mentioned transfer portal. I just wanted to give a shout out to Matt Landers finding his way back to the SEC and reuniting with Sam Pittman. So Landers to Arkansas. Didn't know if you had any thoughts on that unity returning to the conference.
Yeah, I'm happy for Matt. I mean, he went up to Toledo and had a lot of big plays. He didn't get a lot of receptions, but he had some big plays looking at his stats, and we'll see how he does. But, they know all about him, so he's a heck of a practice player. I hope he can take it to the games. I mean,
you can't teach that size, that's for sure.
He just had some issues catching the ball when the band was playing.
One more question from the dog vent, and then we'll flip it over to some that Radi Nab from Facebook, and we have some in the comments if we get to them as well here on YouTube. From Blocker 57, assuming Stetson Bennett doesn't somehow qualify for a 6th or 7th year of eligibility, what does he do after the season concludes?
Sets himself on fire for $1. I mean, this guy's got so many things going on right now. I watched his football camp. That was impressive, all those little kids running around with 13 on their back. I think can you imagine a young kid who's very impressionistic to go out and here's Stetson Bennett hanging with you on a Saturday? I mean, it's got to be great. And that's what's terrific about NIL. I mean, these kids are able to make some money on their name, but he also, can you imagine the benefit all those kids have going to a camp with a young quarterback like Stetson?
They loved it.
I thought that was awesome. But what will he do afterward? I mean, I don't know. He'll probably get a shot at the pros. I mean, he got too good an arm, and even though his size is is questionable. He's taller than Young, who's they talking about being the first round draft choice. So I'm sure he'll get a shot somewhere.
Big hands too. So there's always the thing about quarterbacks who have big enough hands. He's got 10-inch hands. So.
Kenny Pickett went to Pittsburgh with little hands. I mean, hey, that happened.
I do want to give a shout out to the folks that ran that Stetson Bennett camp on Saturday. I went out there. I think I was the only media person out there, and that was a very well run camp. Those kids had an absolute blast, and they were just.
How many would you say were there?
300.
Really?
Yeah.
What did they charge them?
Don't know. I didn't look at it. I just walked up as if I'd paid my money. And shout out to the nice police lady that ran me off after I started asking them questions. So.
Who were you asking question? The kid asking where he's going to sign?
No, I was asking Stetson about his Blue Angels trip. He said it was fantastic, and the woman after he answered the question, she's like, "That's enough." I'm like, "Okay."
Who said that?
The police lady. He had some people out there making sure he didn't get swarmed.
At least he didn't ask you to. At least you didn't ask that lady to shoot you like I did.
I'll send you the audio. It's. But no, I didn't have to shoot anybody.
That's pretty impressive. You went out to the camp.
Yeah, I wanted to get an interview. So,
has he got any more?
I don't know. I'll have to look that up. I just knew about that one. Plus, it's in Winder. I didn't have to go that far.
Yeah, good.
Speaking of not going far, if you are hungry and you want to grab a Your Pie pizza this week, if you order online or through the app on the Your Pie Rewards app, and remember today is Double Points Day, they have free delivery for this week from the 16th to the 22nd. So starting yesterday through the 22nd of May, they have free delivery if you order online or through the app. Of course, do it through the app. Do it today to get your double points. So you can get the Ishka, you can get the Nat, you can get the Southern Heat, you can get their pastas, custom pastas, you can get the salads, you can get the sandwiches, all that great stuff, and you can get it delivered to you at your business, at your home, wherever you are for free. So that's a special deal they're running this week only. Jump on it. Don't miss it. Try their.
You know, one thing I would say about Your Pie, we went out to a place in Oklahoma that's similar to that.
Yeah.
It costs twice as much and I'm not worried about how much anything costs really. I guess I should be, but I was just thinking. I said, man, these people they just need to get a Your Pie here. I mean, everything was like jacked up compared to Your Pie, and it wasn't near as good either.
They do it well. There have been a lot of knockoffs. The concept is fantastic, and Drew Nelly French came up with a great concept, and people have been stealing it and trying to duplicate it, but they can't do it to the quality, and they can't do it for the price. And
right,
Your Pie's just kicking their ass, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I need to tell Drew I was out doing a scouting report for him out there. All right, what we got next here?
We have some other questions. This was a good one from Spencer. He sent it in last week, but it came in towards the end of the show, and I missed it. He says, who all gets rings, championship rings, besides the players? Do the early enrollees who went to the bowl practices get them? Do the cheerleaders? Do the members of the band? Do the boosters? Do the field maintenance people? Who all gets rings? And I'm like, that's a great question. I don't know. This is first time
I think
football.
I think it's a little bit different on a national championship, and the fact that you probably include some people that you normally wouldn't on a around the building. You know, maybe that aren't necessarily football people, but they're people that have something to do with the athletic department. As far as boosters, there's certain boosters that get them that give so much money that goes with, hey, you give me this much money, it's in your deal there, which it should.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
I don't know that the cheerleaders get them. I'd be all for it. They might get a pendant, which is a copy of it, or they put it around their neck. But I'm not sure about I'll have to look on the cheerleaders. But who else did he mention?
The band, boosters, or field maintenance people, stuff like that.
Band. The maintenance people would. I mean, anybody to do with the football office, they would.
Oh, that's awesome. I wasn't sure if it was just the players and that was it, or if it expanded out beyond that. I knew that a lot of the SIDs will get them, and you'll see I remember going into
they should.
Steve Colquitt's office, and of course he was there for a lot of swimming championships, tennis championships, and not and SEC championships. Because remember, if you win the SEC, you get a ring too. And he has a box just full of rings where he's been and I can't imagine what Claude Felton's looks like. His desk would probably collapse under the weight of all the rings he's gotten over the years. So it's just pretty.
But you know what Kirby does is he takes them and puts them on a big thing on his. He's got this in his office. He's got this couch and then a table there, and he's got the championship rings on there that he's won, and that's pretty impressive. I mean, he's got 4. This is his 5th. I don't know. He might have won one at LSU. Was he coaching at LSU when they won? I don't know if he was or not, but I know he's got 5.
I wanted to show this picture from Georgia football. They put it out on Twitter. So this is Matt Brown, the walk-on linebacker and tight end. He got his championship ring and he graduated on Friday. And I only put this because I've gotten to know him a little bit from the sports media program at UGA. And so he graduated with a sports media certificate. And he's, I think, looking to go play, do a little graduate transfer, maybe play with his 1 more year of eligibility. All to say, it was really cool to meet his family and kind of see the academic side of what he's accomplished. And you see that ring on his hand there with all the other academic paraphernalia. It was really cool.
Hey, every guy that's on that comes out there and practices, the managers, the trainers, student assistants, they all play a role in winning because you got to have a machine out there. It's got to work. Everything's got to work. And I can tell you that some of the best guys that are really out in the business world today were managers that had to get things ready for practice and organize it and assemble all the different people under them and everything. It's just amazing what you got to have. And nothing makes a coach more mad than going to a drill and everything not be set up for, and you have to go over there and set up the dummies or they didn't put it right. Because it's a waste of time. I mean, the only thing you got even with any school you play is time. How do you use it? Don't confuse, activity with accomplishment. Just because you're moving around, what are you getting accomplished? I mean, hey, but I tell you, we got the most organized practice I've ever seen anywhere. I mean, I can say that without a doubt. We don't waste any minute. I mean, Kirby spends 45 minutes before every practice going over with 1 or 2 guys about where everybody's going to be every minute. I mean,
Ken Feinberg says that, Coach, you should get a ring. You brought Kirby in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need any more rings. I got plenty of those, but I've got plenty of happiness just us winning. But I'm sure if I would have asked for one, I probably could have gotten one, just because you were a ex-coach here or something. But I didn't do anything to help them win. That's for sure.
Coach, you actually answered this question earlier. This is questions from Del Monaco, and I don't know if it's where he's from.
Yeah, I like those.
Or the state.
I like those steaks.
Yeah. It says, when do the players take time off? Does it not seem that they went from the title game to spring camp and then on to summer workouts? And you mentioned
they basically have 3 weeks in May here, unless they had to go to Maymester, which is a combination summer school where they go to one class every day, all day. And that would be only to help you get closer to graduation, or if you had an academic situation you need to rectify to be eligible. But from what I understand, we're in really good shape academically as far as next year, except for, I'm not going to say, but we're in good shape.
Okay. Dayne, I'm going to have you answer some of the questions, or ask some of the questions from the from YouTube and Facebook there. But I'm going to touch on Austin H's one here. He says, I was expecting a lot more guys to go into the portal. What happened? And Coach kind of mentioned that early in the show, Austin, if you weren't on there yet, saying that not to worry about the roster management. And again, if you look at our list and we have like 88 guys listed on scholarship, we basically work that off of the guys that Georgia has listed as signees, on signing day. They say, here are all the people that signed with Georgia, or here are all the new enrollees. Some of those are on scholarships, some are not, some are gray shirting, there's transfers going on. But knowing Nealon Rapier, knowing Coach Smart, knowing those guys, there's more going on than what we know. So And we've asked. We've tried to get like who exactly are your 85, and they're not going to tell us.
Here's the deal. You think they would have taken this kid last night if they didn't get the 85? I mean,
that's my point. It's like, and I'm frustrated as a journalist because I want to be able to say with exact.
I can tell you right now, we're under the 85. Okay.
Oh, I know, but
don't be frustrated. Don't be frustrated.
I'm just saying,
chicken livers.
I'm agreeing with you, Coach, that they're not going to go over, but I don't know which guys are here on their own dime or not.
Come over here, Bob. Come over here after it's over, and I'll tell you who they are. I don't want you to be frustrated, man. You need to enjoy your son's graduation. Don't be frustrated.
So I'm just saying. That's answered off-stage questions. Hit up some of the other ones there in the comment section, if you would, Dave.
Shout out to Darius Smith's father for watching the show in the chat over here.
Who's that?
Darius Smith, his father.
Hey, good. I'm glad he's watching. We're glad he got him coming in here.
What a track star.
He's a football player, too.
I'm just saying, it's a football player who's, I think he won 2 titles.
You're watching the right show, Mr. Smith. Don't watch any of those other clowns.
Very underrated signee in this class, in my opinion. Anybody that size who can run? Woof.
Here's a question from Jordan Harris. Coach Donnan, how do you feel about Georgia's inside linebacker situation? The injuries make me nervous.
Well, we lost some good players, first of all. You lose 3 guys to the NFL draft. But we got some talented people coming up. We got some that have some injuries. You know, Marshall's had trouble with his shoulder. Washington got hurt this spring. But we got some good players there. And like I said at the get-go of the show, it's going to be fascinating all summer to watch these guys interact, go 7-on-7 versus the offense, and learn from each other. But the talent is there. And the thing that's going to help us is they're not going to have to play by themselves. They're going to have the forcing unit up front with guys like Walker and Smith and Stackhouse and Logue and all those guys, so that enhance your ability to play linebacker because you're able to – people aren't on you on the blocks. I mean, they consume the blocks, space eaters, so you don't have to – and the thing we talk about is phone booth. There used to be linebackers that, you know, just played in a phone booth and didn't have to do anything but deliver a blow with their inside or outside forearm and display a gap. Now you got to be able to play so many things outside, play the RPOs where it looks like a run, but it becomes a pass. And then on top of that, play in space so much with the underneath routes. And the thing that people have done passing-wise that 20 years ago we didn't do near as much as they do these pattern reads where they read the drops of the linebackers, or they read whether the end is in a zone blitz or whatever it might be. So the back's adjusting to what the defense does as much as the defense to the offense. So you got to be really up there defensive-wise and maybe show them like you're doing one thing and then do another. And Lynn Schumann does a great job with that with our linebackers. So I feel good about the secondary and the front are going to enhance our linebacker play because we can play man coverage, we can pressure the quarterback, and they're not just going to be guys that have to make every tackle, okay? So it's a concern, but in the grand scheme of things, I mean, probably the last thing you'd eat on the buffet. Don't worry about it.
And we'll wrap the show with this one, unless Roddy has something more after. This is from Lee Godowns. It says, I want to know if Coach thinks that Georgia will go 14 personnel and split 3 tight ends wide or run a tight end screen out wide with those big boys blocking the smaller defensive backs.
Well, Lee, you've been doing some studying here. I think we'll do it. I mean, we can get those guys on the field. We'll do that. Our playbook is very wide open, and Coach Munkin's very good at utilizing the skill level of our guys. And a lot of it will depend on injuries. If for some reason you got a wide receiver down and you need one more tight end in the game. But I can guarantee you we're going to have at least 3 on there a lot of the time because we want to keep them happy, like I said, but at the same time, defensively, it just puts so much pressure on you to have big guys that can block you, but also get down the field and make you way could go against some mismatches on safeties and linebackers. And as much as you just like to say, let's just look at it like this. If you're a defense, you're going to have a really good corner more than likely. So that corner is going to cover A.D. Mitchell, and Mitchell's going to make some plays, and that kid's going to stop him. Keely Ringo is going to do the same thing against a great receiver. But all of a sudden, who are you going to put on Bowers? Who are you going to put on Washington? Who are you going to put on Gilbert? And now you got all three of them in there, and you can't even put one of them on and cover them. Now you go to cover three of them. So that is going to have some defensive coaches, instead of going to Destin this summer, they're going to be in the locker room studying film to try to figure out how to stop it. And that was one thing in the looking back at the game against Alabama, the championship game in the SEC, when we had those three tight ends in there, they were so worried about Bowers going deep that they were off the ball. And if we'd have run the ball a little bit more, self-critique, it's just such a gaping area to run the ball when they're so worried about the pass. So good question, Lee. I'm going to tell you, give yourself credit. That's going to be something we use for sure.
I'd love to see. I mean, I liked his idea of throwing to another tight end with those three tight ends in a wedge, blocking for him. But what if you put somebody really like a Ladd McConkey catching that screen pass with those three guys ahead of him?
Right. Well, we got some guys that
shoot through there.
We got to answer another part. We got some guys in Seether and Delp that can come in there and play that. And we got one more coming in too. Is it when's Spurling?
Pierce Spurling's 2023.
Yeah, he's going to be here.
He and Lawson Lucky will be together. So yeah.
Unless there's another reclassification.
Lucky, another legacy guy. I mean. Has Patrick Garbin ever looked up? Has anybody ever had three brothers, a set of triplets playing on one team beside us?
I don't think so. I mean, I'll have him look into it because that would be. And not only that, we just need to do something on all the legacies that are coming back. I mean, you've got a lot of them. So,
but I guarantee you one thing. When we got those guys, there was no question, and that to me is a great reason why you stay with somebody. But boy, when those lucky triplets, all three contributed to our team, and then the one became our center. Coach Selpo really worked with him, and he was a stallion for us. I mean, and we thought early on that he would probably be the lesser of the three, but he played great, and both of them at linebackers. Too bad Mike got hurt, but he ended up going another year up to James Madison and just played lights out for Coach Mickey Matthews up there. But I'm proud of those lucky guys, and I'm really proud that Mike's got a son coming here, and he's got another one in the 8th grade that's bigger than Dallas. It's going to be an unbelievable lineman too.
I'm going to make some notes. All right, folks. Hey, I appreciate everybody that tuned in today. I was glad to get back here to Classic City East and to have Coach Donnan back with us. Although, shout out to Russ Tanner for jumping in last week and helping out. And he did a good job. But it's always good to have Coach back. It means a lot to us.
I'll see you in about 4 weeks. That's it for me.
And a shout out to Dayne, who I know is battling some
injury report. Way to go, Dayne.
Yeah, no, he's battling illness himself and with his family, but he's able to do the whole show. It means a lot. And, of course, thank you, everyone who sent in your questions. That's the best part of our show is answering questions for you. We love doing that. And
good questions, some really good questions.
Good questions make a good show. And we will have a bunch of new questions next week, so tune in next Tuesday at noon. Shout out to our sponsors, of course, Athens Ford, who took care of me and my boy recently, got us a new vehicle out there, or a new used vehicle. Your Pie. Academy. Oh, I forgot to mention Dead Soxy. Give me 1 second here, because Dead Soxy has a new thing that you have to check out. They have custom socks where if you are you're trying to come up with some type of promotional event, you can go out and reach out to Dead Soxy, and they will do premium custom socks for you. Now, it's really cool because it's their same quality socks. But let's say you are promoting your business, your company, your anything like that. You can do a order of custom socks. The minimum order is only 120, so you don't have to do 5,000 socks or anything like that. The lead time is about 6 to 8 weeks, so it doesn't take that long, and they will help you start the whole thing. So you don't have to say, well, I don't have the logo, I don't have the design. You just tell them what your idea is. You reach out to Dead Soxy and say, look, here's my idea. I run a place called Classic City Eats. I want people to wear have our socks, because everybody wear socks just about every day. You can get them a pin, you can get them a phone case or anything like that, but you want something branding that they will wear all the time. And again, high quality that, people wear socks every day. They also wear their favorite socks a lot. Well, it could be their favorite socks be the ones with your logo on it. So they'd see it every week, every 10 days or however many you give them. So check out our friends at Dead Soxy. It's really easy. Go to deadsoxy.com/custom. And you can check out what they can do with custom socks. I've seen some of these. They were designed for our buddy at the 7-6 Apparel. These are going to be amazing. So go ahead. If you run a business, if you're trying to come up with some way to reach out to your customers that you haven't done before, you're tired of doing the pins or the drawstring backpacks that nobody uses anymore, stuff like that. Get rid of all that stuff and reach out to our friends at Dead Soxy. They're absolutely going to love it. So shout out to Dead Soxy. And sorry I waited till last to mention them. I was very excited about it when I got that new thing that they're promoting. So I should have led the show with that, but I was too excited about the car. Anyway, tune in next Tuesday, and I will have more questions for Coach Donnan. And be sure to send them in when you get a chance, and we'll talk to you then.